Botany and Ecocities, Restoring Ecosystem Services to Urban Spaces. This is a talk prepared for the Front Range Eco-Social Solutions Conference in Boulder, Colorado in 2019. The theme of this presentation is to converge ideas from wildland ecological restoration with principles of urban ecology and the restoration of ecosystem services in urban landscapes. I have a master's degree in ecology, restoration ecology, where I studied Russian olive restoration. After graduation, however, I found myself doing the same exact kind of work I was doing before, working with volunteer trail crews and to restore landscapes in the American West. Right out of grad school, I worked with the Friends of the Dillon Ranger District, an organization that puts volunteer trail workers on the trail, has dozens and dozens of uniformed rangers who collect monitoring data on the trails and also trail hosts. I also started teaching at Colorado Mountain College in Leadville, where I taught ecology and natural resource management program. I now teach at CMC still online, and I teach at UCCS as well. But my main goal here is to get my students to interact with the real-world environmental problems in their ecosystems, to really engage their motivation. Nowadays, we call these people, volunteers and students, citizen scientists. I live in Colorado Springs, and the volunteers who call themselves citizen scientists here do things like participate in the BioBlitz, measure trail change over time, measure active revegetation efforts in public lands. College students come out and participate in my research as well. I have citizen scientists who attend academic conferences with me. They help me to design the research, analyze the data, and also play a role in the publication and science communication piece. And finally, citizen science is for everybody. We have citizen scientists of all ages. Citizen science in my world supports the monitoring of natural systems. So, out of grad school, I really thought that I was going to get a job monitoring landscapes with the Forest Service, but no, there are no jobs like that. Most of that work is being done by nonprofit organizations in conjunction with land management agencies. Rocky Mountain Field Institute works with the City of Colorado Springs and the U.S. Forest Service to monitor trail change over time and monitor active revegetation. So in the Garden of the Gods, we have a 3-year program, citizen science program. There are many redundant trails here in this wildlife valley in the southern part of Garden of the Gods Park. And this is where the critical wildlife habitat is. These redundant trails really break up that wildlife habitat. So this trail on the left, this is 1 year after revegetation. And the trail on the right was this past summer, so 3 years after the initial effort. So there's this proven concept that if you put native seeds back on the landscape, they will thrive in this very dry environment because they have evolved in this climate. Plants perform very important ecosystem services in Colorado Springs and all over the American West. Wildfires are leaving landscapes denuded of plants, and the result is massive erosion problems. So here on this trail, one of our veteran citizen scientists, Larry, is measuring this trail change over time. So you can see on the left, he's standing on some bedrock, and it doesn't make for a very good recreational experience. So one management strategy is to just put sediment on it. But our citizen scientists have shown that that sediment erodes away in just a few months. Right here we have depths already of 6 inches by August, and this this addition of sediment to smooth out the trail occurred in March, so really not even 6 months. And that sediment has to go somewhere, so we haven't solved this problem on the trail, but we have also created this problem in the waterways down below. Massive sedimentation issues. And really having the appropriate riparian plants can help to resolve this, but we have a problem in the uplands and a problem in the lowlands, and plants can prevent resource damage from water in both of these places. So thinking about that kind of academic research of ecological restoration, how can we bring these ecosystem services into our own backyards? So I am an avid gardener, my husband and I, and so I really have taken my academic training to my backyard, and that's what I'm going to transition to talking to you about now. So in our urban spaces, we have micro brownfields all over the place. These are alleys, tree lawns, front lawns, road medians, your backyard. And they can be native plant islands that increase ecosystem services in our environment. So let's think about what these ecosystem services are. So as we convert more landscape to the urban environment, we are decreasing habitat for vegetation, invertebrates, birds, small mammals, predators. Essentially, by reducing the habitat in which these plants can live, we're also reducing their genetic diversity, the ability for pollinators to move from pollinating island to pollinating island. So when we can adopt in our cultural psyche this love of the plants that are from Colorado, we can really make a change for our environment and our urban ecosystem, but also for all the animals with whom we share it. So I live in a house built in 1903. I'll show you that in just a second. But, there are a lot of native plants in my backyard that I didn't even plant. They've been here for maybe over 100 years. So in Colorado, for example, top right corner, we have many varieties of native amaranth. And this is the same plant family from which we get quinoa and amaranth that we buy at the health food store. And in the lower right, we have gooseberries and currants. These are local wild berries that are quite tasty and can be made into preserves. And then we also have wild strawberries, and we have tons of grasses, and I really am personally interested in, working with trying to prepare food with native edibles. And there's some work being done in this area. At UCCS, we have grain school every January, and at the Land Institute in Kansas, they do a lot of research looking at perennial agricultural grain crops. So how can you make room for these natives in your landscape? Sometimes people they're not ready to have a front lawn that looks like a prairie, but they are ready to make a difference in terms of increasing the ecosystem services in our urban spaces. So this client here, this is a 6-figure home in suburbia in northern Colorado, and they still have their trampoline, their play set, their grass, their hot tub, but in this one corner of their yard, now they have this very nice foothills ecosystem where you can walk around and really feel like you've gotten away from it all. And this provides very valuable habitat for birds and invertebrates in the area. So in your front yard, there's all sorts of space that is not being used. So here we're looking at a house in Denver. My client rototilled all the ancient grass, the Kentucky bluegrass, and here's my crew in the middle with the lease, and we reseeded her front yard we used plugs, and you can use plugs and seed, that works well too. And the result is this beautiful blue grandma buffalo grass sod. These are the dominant grass species in the Colorado prairie. This lovely front yard requires no supplemental water after it is established. And so, again, we need to make some cultural shifts. The native grass, it doesn't green up as early in the spring as the Kentucky blue does, but it provides, again, a native habitat within the the urban space, and it also provides that genetic diversity and reduces our consumptive water uses for landscaping. So here's my own backyard. So as I mentioned, my family's owned this house since like the 1970s. My husband and I bought it in 2015, and this grass has been here for forever, at least 40 years, and maybe since 1903. But we rototilled that in, and we removed all these rocks. I should say my husband did. That was quite a job. And we planted a winter rye clover cover crop. We tilled that in, and we have never tilled it again, but that really increased the soil tilt, and we have a beautiful, productive garden now. So in this one backyard that was doing nothing, really providing no ecosystem services, we now have annual and perennial veggies, fruits, fruit trees, grains, 9 chickens, 2 beehives. We've had bunnies, but we don't have any right now. Great source of compost fertilizer. So also you'll see that my garden is really looking disorganized. We let all of the flowers, and we have flowers in all the interspaces of the vegetables to provide that opportunity for the bees. So here's one of my mentor Judith's front yards. She took out her Kentucky bluegrass, and now she has this beautiful, it really looks like an English garden with both edibles. On the right you can see herbs and kale and nasturtiums, and on the left lots of native wildflowers. She used just remnant flagstone chips and free mulch from the city, and now we have this very diverse, gorgeous corner in our neighborhood. And then there's the hell strip, the tree lawn, the very front of your house where the irrigation doesn't go and it just looks horrible. So in this instance, we scraped the top, tried to get as many kochia seeds off as we could. Also, we wanted to have a convex surface so the water would be retained there rather than have a convex surface where the water would run off. We piled that soil up in another area where we had a planting berm that we supported with rocks along the side. And then we used newspaper as like landscaping fabric to keep the weeds down, put cedar mulch, and now we have a very diverse native grass ecosystem started from quart pots. This was not from seed, but now we have the seed source. And then I don't personally get involved in the restoration of our urban forest, but I really wanted to bring to my talk the attention of the urban forest and the ecosystems it provides, which include controlling temperature, sequestering carbon, and cleaning the air. Here in Colorado Springs, the city takes the hazard trees down but doesn't replant new trees. So if it weren't for concerned citizens doing this work, our urban forest would be in decline with no hope for restoration or plan for restoration. So thank you to the North End Woodlands. So if it wasn't clear already, getting involved in these citizen science-based opportunities, even in your own backyard, it helps to educate you, and it provides hands-on engagement, and all the data that is collected by citizen scientists is not otherwise collected, and that is very important to our community decision-making processes. It also creates a network of learning opportunities and social engagements. So, in higher education, we talk a lot about how cognitive development is supported by social engagement, and that's true with citizen science as well. When you are hanging out with your friends, having fun and learning and engaging in science-oriented activities at home or in public lands, you are really increasing your science literacy. And that is of great concern to me as a scholar and also as a citizen. And of course, I don't want to forget to mention that it's fun! We have a great time going out there measuring stuff. Measuring the trail is a kind of complex process, but we get it done, early hours. One day, this is the first day after 2 years that we took a walk up to the Siamese twins and just had some fun. We're usually all business, but we do have fun. And then in the right, we attended the What If Festival, and we brought forth ideas for micro-scale home gardening. So this was one of my favorite things that I made. It's just a cedar post in a 5-gallon bucket with some lemonade containers. I drilled holes in the lids, and then the water drips down through the different containers, and you can collect it from the bottom and start it up in the top again, or you can just use a little pump for it. But anyway, those are the fun ways that we engage both in the public lands and right downtown here in Colorado Springs. So my final call to action is to please collect native seed. A lot of college campuses and your neighbors are probably catching on to the native plant gardening, and if you talk with them and ask permission, you can collect seed and put it in your yard. Spread it into your micro brown fields and make something out of nothing. I do own a business, and my business does all these different things I just talked to you about, but these are the ways that I engage with my college students and with my community. If you're interested in getting involved in any of the activities I described, citizen science, sustainable gardening, please stay in touch. I look forward to meeting at the conference on Friday and Saturday in Boulder. Thank you very much.